Welcome to our first 2018 meeting of the Sustainability, Housing, Efficiency, and Neighborhood Subcommittee. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Kate Gallego, joined by Councilwoman Deborah Stark with Councilman Jim Waring on the way. I want to thank you all for joining us. It's a very diverse agenda today. We begin with our review of the meeting minutes. If either of my colleagues have a motion.
I will move to approve.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Passes unanimously. We have a very brief consent agenda, our citizen participation plan and our consolidated action plan. Do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
I will move for consent item.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Next, we move to an item of considerable interest for city employees and perhaps our partners in the healthcare community as well. We will be procuring new medical insurance, and we'll welcome our acting deputy city manager up to the podium to introduce her presentation and co-presenters.
Good morning, Chairwoman Gallego and subcommittee members. HR Director Lori Bays and I are pleased to be here today to present you an update on healthcare insurance for city employees. As you are aware, we have two providers at the City of Phoenix currently, and that's Cigna and Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Their contracts expire at the end of this calendar year, so we're getting ready to launch an RFP process, and Lori will walk you through a brief presentation on next steps.
Good morning, Councilwoman Gallego, members of the committee. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background information before we talk about the specifics of the RFP. The city began self-funding its employee and retiree medical plans in 2005, and this is a mechanism where the healthcare trust collects the premium and pays the claims directly, as well as the administrative expenses. This enables us to have significant cost savings for the city and flexibility in our plan design. In 2018, we had approximately 35,000 employees, non-Medicare retirees, and eligible dependents enrolled in the city's medical plan. You may recall that the retiree healthcare exchange was introduced in 2016, which assists Medicare-eligible retirees and dependents with selecting and enrolling in a Medicare plan. The services that we're going to be talking about more specifically with this RFP are our medical plan administrative services. One or more insurance companies or third-party administrators will be contracted to provide the necessary administrative services, and these include things such as claim adjudication, provider networks, and this is actually contracting with physicians, labs, hospitals, et cetera, to provide the services that our members require, and to be sure that we have an adequate competitive nature to that network. We also contract with this vendor to adjudicate the appeals process, to provide case management for members, to support serious health conditions such as diabetes, COPD, and heart conditions. The vendor will provide data management and security, as well as website and mobile application services, customer service for members, as well as cost and utilization reporting, which helps us to make good decisions about our vendor and identify needs within our member base. Our current vendors, as Tony mentioned, are Cigna and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona. They have provided these services for the city since 2005. Their current contracts began August 1st of 2011 and will end at the end of this calendar year. The cost for these services is approximately $6 million per year for both Cigna and Blue Cross Blue Shield. And this administrative service adjudicates approximately $160 million per year in average claim costs. The RFP itself will be issued mid-January to request proposals for these services. We expect a very high level of interest in this RFP. We know that United Healthcare, Aetna, Cigna, and Blue Cross Blue Shield all plan to submit proposals. We have a selection committee that has been formed consisting of representatives from HR, finance, Healthcare Trust Board, as well as unions. And a recommendation is planned to be made to this subcommittee in April of this year. If approved, I'm a little behind on my fly-ins here. If approved by the subcommittee, the recommendation will go forward to the full council in May of this year. If a new vendor is selected, so remember we have Blue Cross Blue Shield and Cigna, if we're selecting new vendors outside of those two, we will need a significant transition period so that we can be ready for open enrollment in the fall. And so we expect that transition period to occur between June and September. And open enrollment, as you know, occurs in October and November. The new contract would be in place for the 2019 calendar year, so January 1st of 2019. And with that, we're happy to answer any questions that you have.
Wonderful, thank you. Do we expect to have two plans again, or will
I would
the,
expect to have at least two. It's a best practice to have more than one so that members may have a choice between the plans that they'd like to choose from. Some employers of our size do have more than two. Some have three or even four. So we would expect to have at least two for a recommendation.
and will you remind us how our employees have chosen between Cigna and Blue Cross right now? What's the rough percentages?
I wonder if I have that. Let me. Actually, I think I do, if I can just get to the right page. Yes, so, actually, you know what, I'm sorry, I don't. I have the way that employees have selected between HMO, PPO, and the high deductible health plan, which is 43% HMO, 39% PPO, and 18% high deductible health plan, but I don't have the breakdown between the two groups. I apologize, I could get that for you.
No need, thank you.
Our subject matter expert happens to have the flu today, and so I'm pinch hitting for her a little
Even people working in healthcare have.
bit. Yeah.
We apologize. Leslie Dewar, who's the deputy HR director over this area, texted last night, and she indeed has the flu, so we apologize.
Well, please tell her we wish her a speedy recovery. There's been a lot of innovation in cost management. How will we judge innovative solutions when they compete here?
Yeah, so that's one of the exciting opportunities that we have, is that we have an opportunity to, again, look at our network of providers and to help us find a provider that will help us to get those cost savings out of our network. We have a consultant that works with us, Mercer, who helps us to actually go through an actuarial analysis of the presentations and the proposals that are made, and so we can make the best determination based on the data that we have about our member group, what the proposals will look like, you know, with City of Phoenix employees enrolled in them. And so we have that consulting contract in place, which will help us to make those determinations. They also advise us on best practices and things that we can incorporate into our plan, both within this contract and outside of it, that will help us to make good decisions and provide things that will offer choices to our employees and to the other members of the plan, as well as provide cost savings for the city. So for example, we're looking at some options for having our employees have the ability to see what services cost up front and to have that information provided to them through the vendor so that we will know, that employees will know when they make an appointment for a service, what exactly that's going to cost them and what it would cost if it was at a different provider. And this is especially beneficial for employees who are on the high deductible plan, so that they can make good consumer decisions about where to have their health care provided. And that also in the long run benefits the city. So things like that are things that we're going to be looking for, as well as technological advances. Right now our vendors do offer some applications and mobile interfaces that allow people to make appointments and things online, but we're looking for even more of that for our employees and members as we're going forward, to make it not only convenient for people to get in as soon as possible so as to lower costs over the long run, but also to provide that information to them as consumers so that they can be well informed and make good decisions about their health care.
Wonderful. Councilman Waring?
I appreciate it. My understanding of city finances is, big corporations have big issues. Healthcare can certainly be usually one of them as a driver of increased cost. In our case, we have our pension issue, which has been much discussed, won't belabor it here, but our healthcare costs, since we've been self-insured in 2005, we've actually done a pretty good job compared to like-sized organizations or other organizations around Arizona in controlling costs. Is that a fair statement?
That is a very fair statement. We've actually done very, very well at controlling and maintaining costs over time, even as demands have increased. And so we are quite proud of that, and hope to
should
continue
be.
that and even improve that as we go forward with the new vendor or vendors.
Not to be confused with costs going down, but they're not rising nearly as rapidly as
Correct.
any peer we can come up with, really.
Yes.
So this is we hire the companies to manage the plan, but that's really, we're hiring their expertise, much like we would hire an outside law firm or something like that. Could you talk a little bit about how what's covered on the plan comes to be? Because that is not us, and that's not the companies, right? That's a group of union representatives meeting with city staff and negotiating? Is that a fair way to phrase it?
So we have the Healthcare Trust Board, as well as the Healthcare Task Force that make those decisions.
Can you
as far
talk
as,
about, just, excuse me for interrupting, who's on that?
Oh, I knew you were.
I mean,
gonna ask me that
not every
question.
individual, but like what,
Types of.
yeah, where would they
expertise.
come from?
Wanna
Where would we
speak to-
get
you were on one of
applicants
them.
for that?
Councilman Waring, I'm happy to chime in here. Force is made up of management representatives, union representatives, and then also the HR specialists and the consultants that help us. And we do, you are absolutely correct, we do work very hard to keep the costs as affordable to the city and to the employees. So we meet monthly. We go over plan design changes. We talk about ideas. Wellness programs is an example that we've worked on in the last few years. So that is the task force. And then the Healthcare Trust Board is made up of five individuals. Our chair is here, Will Move It Us, so I'm checking to make sure that we are accurate with that. And they meet monthly as well, and they are the fiduciary arm of this system.
So just so employees might be watching at home, or the public, obviously, who's watching at home. So this isn't a vote to like change what's covered. This is a vote to potentially, not necessarily, depending on who gets, it could be the same two companies again. This is a vote to who's going to who are we going to pay to manage this? I didn't, assuming that what I just said is accurate, you can decide that amongst yourselves. But just going forward, I didn't know that was crystal clear in the explanation if someone's watching at home. Is that a fair statement, what I just said about that?
Absolutely a fair statement. Now, the providers may bring forward new and innovative ideas, as they often do, and then the task force and the trust board consider those ideas.
Thank you.
But in this, will determine sort of the network of providers will be heavily influenced by who's managing it, and
Absolutely.
so it will have very real impact on
Yes.
Absolutely.
the experience that our employees have with medical coverage. Do we know the points you've allocated to different categories?
Yes. So we have 25%, 250 points to qualifications and experience, another 25% to pricing, and 500 to method of approach. So we're really looking most heavily at what the vendor is proposing to do and the way, the innovations and things that they're bringing to the table, as opposed to relying exclusively or heavily on pricing. Qualifications and experience, of course, are important, but one thing I do want to point out is that this is not the place to try and save a penny. This is really the place to look at what is being proposed, what are the services that are being offered, because even if we spent an additional $500,000 or $1 million a year on this particular service, we could save significantly more than that in healthcare costs long-term, because remember, they're administering about $160 million a year in claims.
Councilman?
Yes, again, the current contracts are $6 million for both companies, right?
Correct, that's correct.
But the payouts are $160 million.
Absolutely.
So you wouldn't want to hire Joe's Insurance, even if they were in my district, pristine District 2. That probably wouldn't be, you're going to need, this is a big deal, 35,000, as you said, potential claimants, I guess I'd say, say it that way. It's a big production. You're going to have lots of years of experience and infrastructure and so forth to be able to manage this effectively.
Certainly.
So I'm glad you mentioned qualifications. Sometimes that's a little further down the list than I would actually prefer, so.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for the update. Green Organics update. We'll welcome our Public Works Director, Ginger Spencer.
Madam Chair, the members of the subcommittee, this is the update that was requested by Councilman Waring, and I'm happy to introduce Ginger Spencer, our Public Works Director, and Joe Giudice, Assistant Public Works Director.
Thank you, Karen. Madam Chair and subcommittee members, we're here to give you an update on one of our newer programs for the Public Works Department. And this item was actually requested by Councilman Waring, so thank you for asking for an update on this program. So the Green Organics program is a part of our Reimagine Phoenix initiative, where our goal is to divert 40% of our waste from the landfill. So when we actually look at what we're sending to the landfill each and every year, the bulk of it, 30%, is actually green organics, i.e. yard waste, such as your tree trimmings or grass clippings. So this program is made available to 150,000 residents. It's a pilot program. It costs $5 additional each month for that third container, the tan container. And just want to say it's been in existence now since 2014. So it was approved by City Council. And with that, I'll turn it over to Joe Giudice to give us the details on the program.
All right. Thank you, Ginger. Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. Councilman, I'm not sure what you have against my insurance company, Joe's Insurance. I think we do a pretty good job, but. So I just want to point out, this is a voluntary program. Ginger mentioned there is a $5 fee associated with participating in this program. But in comparison, we do have many residents out there that have to or choose to have multiple refuse containers. The cost for that would be $13.40 for each additional refuse container. So for some of our residents, there is an opportunity to turn in that additional refuse container and transition to an organics container in its place and actually be able to save money and participate in the program. So our current subscription rate for the program is 4%. That's up from 2% when we started, but it is still relatively low.
Councilman.
I'm sorry to interject. Is that 4% of the 150,000 or okay, so it is. So it's not 4% of all of our customers. It's 4% of the potential 150. Thank you.
You'll note we do have customers with multiple containers. So we have customers that really love the program. So we have about 13% more containers out there than we actually have subscribed customers. Right now, we're able to service this with 5 to 7 routes, 5 days a week. So when we started this program in 2014, we took 5 trucks and drivers from existing solid waste collections and transferred them over. We were able to do that based on some routing efficiencies at the time, and also because the tonnages that we were getting in our solid waste programs were down. The economy wasn't as strong as it is today, so we're seeing a lot of growth in our refuse and recycling programs right now. And we're able to avoid about 600 trips to the landfill so far since we've implemented this curbside green organics program.
Councilwoman.
So that's the landfill that's in Buckeye, right?
Correct.
Which is about 60 miles. Okay. So would that be 120 miles round trip? So we're saving a lot in gasoline, probably, cost.
Yes. Madam Chair, Councilwoman Stark, yes, we're able to avoid those trips. We're saving in gas and as well as the associated disposal costs. So any successful green organics program, in our view, needs to have a robust end market developed so that you're actually manufacturing a high-quality product with that diverted material. In April of 2017, we completed construction of the compost facility at the 27th Avenue transfer station, and that is able to meet that need of developing and manufacturing that end product. So we're working very closely now with the contractor We Care Denali that we've hired to operate that, to focus energy on really 2 things: making sure they're making a good quality product that people would want, and then to develop those markets. So that people are out there saying, yes, this is a good product that we could use. We found through our recycling experiences, having those market-driven demands will help you get more feedstock coming into the program, will help our diversion, and make it an economically good decision for us. Other cities, we've noted, they'll go out there and they'll design a program to go get green organics. They don't necessarily think about the back end, though, and the marketing side, and then they wind up using those as a landfill alternative cover or maybe an erosion control. And I'm not saying that those are necessarily bad, but we don't necessarily view those as the highest and best end use of a good product. And we're really trying to focus in on the circular economy model where you're developing a good end market. A little bit more about the compost facility. So right now it's able to process up to about 55,000 tons per year. And we are forecasting this year, so last summer, we had just opened up and we were doing about 3,400 tons on the busier months. We're forecasting this year, maybe heading into March, of course, it would help if it rained a little bit, I think, that we might be up over 4,000 tons, maybe approaching 5,000 tons per month of diversion, which if we were able to keep those kinds of rates, we would be pretty much maxing out that compost facility's production capacity. A real touch point in terms of the end markets that are being developed. Right now, we've got landscapers, we've got some golf courses, and then they're also working with some nurseries. So as they continue to grow those end markets, I think we're going to be able to generate some value from that commodity and also further develop an end market. Again, just bringing material in without having a good use for it doesn't do us a whole lot of good. Okay, so I'd like to distribute these. Thank you, Karen. Thank you. So I mentioned the 4% subscription rate and that we see that as low. We have not been actively marketing the program since we initially started. But now that the compost facility is operational, we are undertaking a few efforts to actively market. We have a goal of trying to get the subscription rate up to 10%, and then we'll go from there. So a few things that we're doing. We're working with Recycle Bank, so as they get new members signed up, they are checking to see if they're interested in curbside green organics, if they're in the service area, and they are referring those customers to us and giving them additional points. We also have our specialists going out in the areas that we're servicing, and especially right now, the routes where we have some capacity to grow, and they're meeting with residents and handing out these flyers and trying to get some additional customers signed up. We just started that a couple of weeks ago. We've got about a couple of hundred signups already, so we're hopeful that we're going to be able to really, what we're finding is as people aren't really aware of this, but as they become aware, it's something they're interested in participating in. And this is also really important because it's our ability to gather information about the subscription rate is going to help us determine how many trucks and drivers, and what kind of resources are we going to need to be able to support this program? Are we going to have to expand the compost facility, and or more likely, when are we going to have to do that? These are some important questions we're going to need to have to answer from an investment perspective. And the other thing we're doing is using outlets such as social media, our city services bill. I think we'll have an article coming out promoting the program as well. And with that, I will take any questions.
Councilman.
Oh, no, if you.
Will you talk a little bit about where the program is available and how people would find out if they can sign up?
Yes, I should have thought to bring a map that shows where program areas are available. On our website, people can find out. Through this card, we're giving a phone number that people can contact, so they can call 602-262-6251 to find out if they're in an eligible service area, or they can go to phoenix.gov/publicworks/garbage/request to ask if they're eligible and how to join up for the program.
And how did we pick the eligible areas?
Madam Chair, a couple of things. We looked in areas in the various council districts, so it was kind of equally distributed throughout the city. And we also looked at areas where we felt that there was a higher likelihood that there would be organics generated, so larger properties, for example, with more mature trees, things like that. Maybe areas where they had more grass as residents. Those were our initial focus areas.
Do we track, if we get inquiries and someone says, I would love to have this program in my community, do we track where the interest is?
Madam Chair and subcommittee members, when individuals go onto the website, they could actually enter in their zip code and their address and see if they're in the area. If not, that information is actually tracked as well. So we do get requests that come into our office. We know that there is demand, and so we are looking at trying to expand the program, but right now we're using our existing resources. So, yeah. So we are tracking that there is demand for, to expand the program.
Why did we rename it Green Organics?
Well, so green organics, Madam Chair and subcommittee members, is it's an industry term. And so that's how we came up with our green organics curbside program, but it's in a tan container. So green organics really is a industry term to describe the yard waste that we are collecting.
From my perspective, we called it composting while we were developing it, and then it became Green Organics.
Yes, yes.
I'm interested if the public knows what Green Organics means.
Yeah, so, and again, green organics, it really is your yard waste, and not to confuse it with food waste or compostable paper. And so again, if it's coming off your yard, your trees, your grass, plants, that sort of thing, that's what we're looking to collect. And one thing I do want to add back to the compost facility is, as Joe mentioned, the yard waste that we are collecting through our Green Organics program, it is feeding our compost facility. And so our capacity right now is 55,000. It is a scalable project. We can go to 110,000 or 220,000 capacity. And we're currently at about 35,000 or 37,000 tons. So we're doing well with the tonnage that we are bringing in from our current program participants.
I think we should consider calling it the Yard Waste Program.
Yes. We can do that too.
Well, or at least we ought to do some research if Green Organics means.
Yes. Yes. So Madam Chair and subcommittee members, to your point, we can do research. We can look at what other cities are calling their programs, and we can make it more clear and simple.
Will always ask us not to speak city
Yes,
language.
That's right. That is correct.
Councilman Waring.
Yes. To that end, maybe I could make a motion, Joe's Yard Waste Program. Perfect.
Very
Inside joke
catchy.
for those who just tuned in, weren't here earlier. But it's got a nice ring to it, though. So I'm sorry to be sitting here more silent than I frankly normally am on these things, particularly since I requested it, but it's a little anticlimactic. They gave me a briefing last week. So I knew a lot of the stuff, so figured I'd let you guys ask your questions, but did have a couple that didn't get touched upon. So we have the city, Ginger's garbage program is about 400-something thousand, 450,000. So about 1/3 of the, I assume there's nobody getting a tan can who's not getting normal city services, obviously. So about 1/3 of the houses that get garbage service from Phoenix
Madam
are
Chair
eligible for this
and
program.
Councilman Waring, that is correct.
So there's at least part of this program in every district. Is that fair?
Yes, when we set up the pilot program, we did try to have an area in each of the council districts.
And then you tried to factor in, who's got big plants and so forth, which
Right.
makes sense. Obviously, you want people to use it. There hasn't been a lot of advertising. I think either in a private meeting or here, I did sort of ask, hey, what are other cities doing? And I am curious, if you don't have it today, it's fine, but what other cities, because they do have similar programs, some places in the valley. How have they gotten the word out? Are they doing better than the 4%? Which is really divided by 3 if you look at the totality of our, now some places maybe this wouldn't even get used, but, so that's just something to look at. If you don't have it today, we can revisit it. We have more redistricting in District 2, the area I represent, than any other district. I'll let that settle for a second and sit here and feel smugly superior. Just kidding, guys.
Sorry, you said you have
well,
more redistrict?
We have more recycling. Did I say redistricting? Recycling. Sorry to be confused. So much for my smug superiority. More recycling. I think you've tracked that, right? So you are tracking kind of where these things are getting used. Presumably you have sort of a breakdown of the 4%, kind of which districts and so forth. But I would hope you'd hit the areas where it's being, because 4%, even in the highest use areas, you're still going to have a lot of wiggle. If it's 8%, you still got 92% of the houses aren't using it, but their neighbors are more than other places. So I'd hope that you would certainly, as you're going door to door, kind of factor that in, because obviously we are one city, joking about districts, redistricting or recycling, take your pick. you want to make sure you get more people to do this because the benefits are fantastic. Councilman Stark mentioned gas. We're using less gas, less stuff going in the landfill. We only have one, and it's a long way away. So there's no downside to this. This actually produces revenue, correct, for the city. So we don't have to raise taxes, or we don't have to raise taxes much, or however you want to look at it. When stuff isn't going to the landfill, that's all good. To that end, I had argued when we first heard about this program 3-4 years ago, whatever it was, I guess almost 4 years ago now, that the cans should be free. Why are we charging for something that's got such a great return on investment? I was sad to hear something I hadn't thought about, that if you give the cans away for free, someone who might otherwise buy a green can, not saying everybody would do this, even if it's just a handful, would get the free tan can and then fill it with garbage, thereby spoiling, because you have to sort that out, right? So if it's not organic, it can't go there. Again, it can't go to that facility. So that was a shame. So now I kind of understand why, you have to pay for the can. I paid, obviously, for my can, and it is $5 a month. Money well spent, to my mind. I do use it even more than I thought I would. But I do notice my neighbors don't necessarily, and a lot of them have more trees and plants than I do. I see 6, 7, 8 garbage cans lined up. If you can hit those, but I don't want to be pesky with my neighbors, telling them that I'm noticing what kind of cans they're using in their garbage. That might not be well received. And making voters hate you is just not the whole point of this exercise. But I could definitely point you. I would have some thoughts about where you might want to go look if you want to, because definitely to Joe's point, there is ways for those people to save money, actually cost less, and help everybody else out at the same time. It is unfortunate that the behavior of a few might impact our decision making on this in terms of giving away the cans. So that had never come up before in our conversations, and frankly, my head hadn't gone there. But once you explained that made more sense. So I guess I'm eating crow and backtracking on something I had argued for in the past. But I do think it's a good, worthwhile program that is paying benefits. I think the potential is there, which is why I asked for this briefing, to do a lot more. And maybe I'll just leave it there. But I'd love to have a follow-up report, kind of what you guys come up with and what other cities are doing at a later date. Doesn't have to be immediate, but at some point in the future.
Madam Chair and Councilman Waring, so to your question about how Phoenix stacks up to other cities, we have looked at other cities.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So the city of Mesa actually has a more mature program. They have a 30% participation level compared to our 4% participation level. They've been offering their program, though, since the 1990s, so it's definitely a more mature program. But when you actually look at tonnage, our 4%, we're bringing in 12,000 tons already into our program. Compared to their 30%, they have 20,000 tons. So if you look at it from a tonnage standpoint and what we're diverting from the landfill and the benefits there, we're doing fairly well. But to your point, we do want to grow the program. And so I think I hear a green organics or yard waste challenge coming by council district, and maybe Joe's yard waste program. I know you've got some ideas as well as far as offering the program for free or not, or that sort of thing. Did you want to talk about that, or we'll bring that back?
Yeah, just Madam Chair, Councilman Waring, just a couple of things. First off, on the MESA program, I just want to, every program is set up a little bit differently. That's what we've learned. So yes, they have a 30% participation rate, but what we've also learned is that not only have they had the program since 1999, they also don't have a free bulk trash collection service like we do. So you have to pay about $22 if you want to call for a bulk trash pickup. We're pretty confident that would incentivize people to enter the curbside program versus using like a bulk program. Ours is structured differently. So I don't think 30% is a realistic probably target unless we were to change the structure of our program. I don't think there's a desire to make a pay-for-service bulk trash program that I've heard of recently. So, and that's what we've learned, is every program's a little bit differently. For other cities, subscription rates are more close to the 4 to 10% range, or even under that. that we're seeing. But we do think our best guess is that the 10% target is something reasonable to shoot for. So that's what we're looking at right now to see if we can climb to that kind of a subscription rate somewhat organically, pun intended, I guess. And then we could look at whether there's program changes that make sense. And then just speaking to the costs, I just, to be clear about this, we would need additional drivers and additional trucks to be on the road servicing these additional containers. And the cost for, if there is contamination in the program, that drives costs up dramatically. So that's very important to us to keep what's being placed in those containers clean. These are all great experiences we've learned through our recycling program over the years. And in working with our compost operator, who's very experienced at this. They have multiple operations. So a long-winded answer, thank you.
Councilwoman.
Can you talk a little bit about how you work with landscapers to get them? I mean, I live in a neighborhood, we have that service. How would I let them know? Maybe they already know.
So, Madam Chair and Councilwoman Stark, we have a program called the Clean Green Program, which we offer to landscapers, valley landscapers. And so what that means is they can come through our program. We educate them on what types of yard waste is acceptable into our program. And as long as it's clean, it doesn't have other type of waste mixed in there, then we will give them a discount off of our gate rate. So normally you have to pay, I think it's $38.25. So depending on if you're at North Gateway Transfer Station or if you bring it to our 27th Avenue Transfer Station, you can actually save monies from there. And so the savings is different based on how we have to haul it to the landfill. Or actually now it's going to our compost facility, but we have to transport it further from North Gateway. So there is significant savings there for landscapers. And so if they contact our office, we'd be happy to get them more information about our Clean Green program.
But today, a landscaping company that does the common areas of a residential community would not be eligible to participate in the tan can because they have to take the waste off-site.
Madam Chair, that is correct. Thank you for that clarification. So the discount is to the landscaper if they are bringing the yard waste directly to one of our 2 transfer stations.
And most, even a landscaper who's working at a single-family home typically would take the waste off-site, is that right?
That is correct, unless we do have some residents that have the tan container plus a landscaper. And so when they're doing that work, they could actually put it into the tan container.
So we might want to educate landscape companies about could they partner with their customers? The customers would get the tan can and then the landscaper might pass on the savings?
So Madam Chair, what we've done is we've attended Valley Landscaper conferences so that we can get information out about our Clean Green program so they're able to take advantage of that. And then also too, when we see a landscaper driving around, we're taking photos because usually they have their phone number on there, or when they're passing out cards, we're collecting that and getting in touch with them as well.
Madam Chair, if I might also chime in on this one, it would be my preference that for a resident that hires a landscaper, they have that landscaper take the material and bring it to our transfer stations and we can compost it there. That helps us avoid the cost of having to go out and get it. They're bringing it to us. From a running the business perspective, if I can get the organics diverted either way, that would be my preference. We can keep our collection costs down when the landscapers bring the materials directly to us. But certainly, we know that there are landscapers that put it out in the bulk trash, even though they're not supposed to. We know that they put it in the alleys, even though they're not supposed to. And we certainly know they use the tan containers potentially as well.
Is Mesa's program yard waste, or they accept food waste?
Madam Chair, from my understanding, I believe it is just yard waste only. But we can clarify that information.
And is Council District 2 the leading composters?
Madam Chair, Councilman Waring, District 2 is doing very well in their program.
Congratulations.
Make you a diplomat.
Well, he's been doing such a great job advocating for lower solid waste bills for his customers. Hands-on councilman. Wonderful. Well, thank you for that update. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really does. I mean, it's kind of fun.
As we conclude that presentation, 2 notes on today's agenda. First, we had a Agenda item number 3, which was an update on the sale and development of 2 city-owned properties on Holly Street. And so there's great information in the packet that I would encourage people to review. If you are here today for item number 6, the Brownfields to Healthfields project update, unfortunately, you'll have to remain in suspense for 1 more month. So that item has been moved to a future agenda. And now we will go to our workforce development program update for 2017, from 2017. And welcome Chris Mackey, our Community and Economic Development Director.
Good morning. I have got to red and green. I apologize. I'm colorblind, and so I don't see it. I apologize for that. Good morning, Councilwoman, members of the subcommittee. We are here today to provide you an update on our Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act programs, or as we call them, WIOA. WIOA is a federally funded program, as you know, that is one of its recipients. Of course, we're based here in Phoenix, and they are meant to be programs that connect people, job seekers, people looking for jobs with employers. And we do that through training, through mentorship, through resume building, and through removing barriers that quite a number of our job seekers experience when they're looking for a job. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Cynthia Speltway, who is the Deputy Director of our Workforce and Development Programs.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to share some of the work that we've done the past year. So as we look at by the numbers, there's a couple of things I want to draw your attention to. For program year ending June 30th of 2017, we were actually able to serve about 75,000 individuals through our universal services through Arizona at Work, City of Phoenix, and this includes various programs. We did a really good job meeting with employers, doing customized recruitments, and also business and industry forums. We did a little over 300 this past year. Every year we tend to exceed the target that we had set for ourselves. Relative to occupational training, these are individuals that have come through our doors seeking some type of education credentials. We helped a little bit over 1,100. As we look
Members of the subcommittee, if I might, on that 75,000 number, that's double what our team was able to assist last year. We were at about 36,000 last year. So Stan Flowers, Michelle Pearson are here in the audience as well, and their teams are working diligently in conjunction with Cynthia to up those visits and to be able to really assist job seekers. So I just wanted to call attention to the work of the team and the fact that they've doubled the work that they're doing over last year.
Nice work. Thank you.
team effort. As we look at our youth, we did an RFP for youth providers this past year. And so for this coming program year, currently, we have 4 contracted providers: Chicanos Polacausa, Arizona Center for Youth Resources, Jewish Family and Children's Services, and Valley of the Sun YMCA. And our goal is to serve a little over 950 youth this next year, and these are youth ages 14 to 24. We do have a Youth Bill Phoenix grant, and in this grant we have served 64 youth. 40 have completed leadership. Of the 24 that remain, either some of them have left the program and the remaining ones will take the class. And 34 have received their National Center for Construction Education and Research Certification, NCCER as we call it. And this is an industry-driven standard training program. It provides portable credentials, and it also is a registry system to track those that have qualified through this. Chris?
Chairwoman and members of the subcommittee, although we won't address it specifically today, we have talked before, and I wanted to call attention. We do have apprenticeship programs as well, as you're very familiar with, but one predominantly focused in the construction sector. As we've talked about, economic development doesn't happen unless you have people that can build the projects and do the tenant improvements that are needed in our buildings. And we have a strong need in Arizona for a qualified construction sciences workforce. And so we are working diligently throughout our department to enhance and encourage that construction science apprenticeship program. So I know particularly to Councilwoman Gallego and Councilwoman Stark, that's near and dear to your heart. So I just wanted to recognize that and let you know that that is a program that we are focusing diligently on. Councilwoman.
Yeah, and just to add to that, it's not just buildings, but it's infrastructure. And right now, because we have our tax that we're paying to get our roads improved, it's really critical that we work with the construction trades to keep that going.
Through Councilwoman Gallego, Councilwoman Stark, you're absolutely correct. We're working with not only the City of Phoenix roads, it's our public works departments and our lights and apprenticeship programs, but ADOT has a very strong apprenticeship program that Cynthia and Rob Stinson at our Workforce Center are working closely with for our opportunity youth, our youth, and even our adult workers that have good quality jobs they can obtain through that apprenticeship program.
And actually, there are 2 of our Youth Build students that are going through that apprenticeship program. So
Going through which apprenticeship program?
the one Chris is referring to now,
At
the
ADOT, with
ADOT.
ADOT.
Oh, good.
And so we're making the connections. Right. So moving, the next thing related to youth, a couple of things we want to bring to your attention. This is the Phoenix Youth Rise summer program, which is our opportunity to serve youth ages 16 to 24 in a 5-week summer youth program. And this is provided through the general purpose funds. Also, we have another opportunity to engage youth, and this is primarily the juniors and seniors through the Jerome E. Miller Leadership Academy. And we serve up to about 25 youth, and this is a collaboration with the City Manager's Office, Library Department, and Community Economic Development. And we love veterans. I'm a veteran, so we love veterans.
Thank you for your service.
So we have the Hire, Educate, Recruit, and Organize Veterans Initiative, and this started back in 2012, and the city council supported this. To date, from December 12th through May 2017, we served over 600 plus veterans through customized recruitments. Over 200 employers registered and participated, and this was through about 6 customized events. One of the things I do want to draw your attention to, we partnered this past November to work with Arizona, and this is working with the National Veterans-Owned Business Association. They brought their national conference here for about a week, and it culminated in one of the events was a veteran hiring event. And so we had over 60 employers participate, 52 actually interviewed for 129 positions. We had pre-registered veterans, 176, and about 157 actually showed up. And so that was, I think, a really good event. A lot of us were there as staff participating, a good turnout. Chris?
One of the areas that we do focus in is, one of the areas that we do focus in, as you know, with economic development and workforce, we work so closely together as a team, is our business sector partnerships and our sector strategies. And what those groups are, it's private sector businesses in certain areas that we meet with in roundtable situations who identify workforce challenges and issues that they have in their hiring, so we can bring those training services and those training programs to bear that allow them to do a better hiring here in Arizona. Our advanced business services, of which financial services is wrapped under that sector, has been very successful in our training programs to get even our entry-level workers trained into good quality jobs. And we're not talking about the person who's I'm going to date myself here, that's going to call you at dinner time and interrupt you for your long distance. These are good quality, career-ready jobs to create a career path with a sustainable wage. So our companies are listed up on the screen in front of you that are participating, and these are just a few of those. We do have other sector strategies, but this is one that is particularly active now, and we expect this one to come to conclusion with some best practices and some end training results in the very near future.
In our last slide, we want to talk a little bit about the Refugee Workforce Partners. And so we've been meeting as a result of the council back in April giving us a directive. And so we have met with the past 7 months or so, a number of community partners did a lot of work around the initiative relative to English language learners. We actually created action teams around these four aspects of working with refugee, the community. Connecting talent to business, and this is more about helping to build a pipeline, leveraging and developing strong partner relationships, and this is about the workforce programs, working with the resettlement programs to understand the nuances of delivering the services. And so there have been some cross-training, back and forth, and that will continue. And then what we're focusing on right now, I think a lot what we found is that in each of the action teams, there's a lot of crossover. And so we met this past month, and we're looking at the big idea, if you will, events that will really help coalesce everything that we've been doing over the past 7 months. The other aspect of this is also really going forward, engaging the community. As I mentioned before, it's been primarily the practitioners coming together, looking at how do we deliver services, how do we avoid duplication, and so now really engaging the community and letting them tell us how can we best help you. And so it's kind of exciting bringing the programs together and really talking about creating a pipeline and getting those individuals that perhaps that we haven't seen as a talent resource to connect them to the opportunities with businesses of all the programs. So with that, we want to leave you with this little best practice, if you will, or success. Chris?
We are, what you see in front of you, we get quotes from our participants on a regular basis about how the work of Cynthia and Stan and their teams have changed their lives and how the direction of this council to focus strongly on workforce changes our citizens' life. So with that, we would be happy to take any questions you might have.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for that update, and congratulations on about doubling the number of people we serve. That's very exciting. So one of my favorite events during my time on the council was a job fair we did for people who'd been involved with the justice system. And we had a gentleman who had been unable to get a job for quite a while, I think due to a felony DUI, who got, not only did he get interviewed, but he got an offer on the spot. And I think he was pretty close to skipping as he left. He was so happy. And it's just so exciting when we can really make the connection for folks to great employers who are excited to have them. And then it gave this man great opportunity to pay his bills, take care of his family. I think we are all safer when people have good careers and good economic opportunities. So it's not just for the people who benefit directly, but if we can make sure people have opportunity, that's a win for our entire community. Are we doing any more work with justice-involved individuals, or?
We are working with our community partners around that. So we have, on a regular basis, individuals coming through our centers that are justice involved. And so we have caseworkers, we have partners that we look to help identify remove some of the barriers, if you will. And so we have a number of customized recruitments that are held in the job centers and across our community partners. And so that is an area of focus. We have not forgotten about that, along with the youth, along with mature workers and what have you. So we maintain a focus on justice-involved folks.
And Chairwoman Gallego, we are working closely with Maricopa County. As you know, they are also a WIOA-funded organization, so we work very closely with them, and they have a very strong focus on recidivism and helping our justice system individuals find meaningful employment. So we are doing work as well, but working really closely in partnership with Maricopa County to ensure that everyone has access to a good quality job.
Wonderful. And speaking of Maricopa County, their board chairwoman had reached out and said, we'd love to work more closely with the city. Can you talk a little bit about how we work with Maricopa County?
Yes, actually we work at all levels in terms of the frontline staff, the supervisors, business services. We also have worked with their boards. In the past, we have done retreats together. We've also done various events. And so moving forward, one of the things that we want to do, because we are in the same market, we have a regional approach. And so sharing information and best practices and actually coming together. It has been perhaps over a month since our, not a month, but about a year or more since our boards have actually come together. Probably last year, we worked with them very closely for about 6 or 8 months, coming up with a regional workforce development strategy. And so going through some of the changes, both city and county, we need to get back in tap to have more constant communication at a more formal level. We're doing it, getting the work done, but at the level you're talking about right now, we do stand in some opportunities to convene more together and be more visible in the community.
And Chairwoman Bruce Liggett and I, who oversees their workforce program as well, had just had a conversation over the holidays about the fact that we needed to get back our groups back together to make sure that we're following the same plans and metrics and things that we had worked towards to ensure that we're most wisely spending our dollars and making sure that our efforts are well coordinated. So to the chair of the county's board, we'll be working on that diligently in the coming months.
Fabulous, thank you. When Councilwoman Stark and I were at the meeting with some of the construction trades and learning about their needs on the workforce side, one of the things I learned was that Maricopa County does a lot of work with people while they're in apprenticeship programs, and then they'd ask, could we help support them for on-the-job training portion at the end? And I don't remember, what went forward from that? Was that an opportunity to collaborate, or?
I do. Oh, so yes, Chairwoman. So that was one of the things that we had worked diligently on. So yes, we do have an on-the-job training program. It's running through our Business Workforce Center under Michelle Pearson's team, Rob Stinson, who came to us from the community colleges, and he is overseeing that. So we had just met most recently, just within the past few weeks, just to talk about how we can realign our budget as we're seeing more activities with on-the-job training and with apprenticeship programs, and how we can more closely align our budget into and our funding into that metric, which of course is the on-the-job training that they were talking about. So we are working and having that conversation internally about making those budget adjustments for 18-19 to be able to provide more funding for on-the-job training.
Fabulous, thank you, because I think all of us on the council hear about, there's so much more that could be happening if we just had the workforce too.
You are dead spot on. We hear that a lot.
And if I may add, just last week in this room, our board approved our policies relative to on-the-job training, customized training, and also incumbent worker training. So our board is supporting the policies to provide these services. So.
And we have great people on our workforce board. Is there anything they want us as the city council to know, or any messages for us from the board?
One of the things I would say, I would love the opportunity to have perhaps more interaction with you, to hear about the work that we're doing firsthand. We do have a very engaged board, very engaged. They're taking their positions and their duties very seriously. They like the work, they like the outcomes, and they are a great voice and an advocate for our community. They bring a level of expertise from their respective industries. And so it's a win for the city, and it's also a win for our board members because they get the opportunity to utilize their services for recruitment also.
Fabulous. Well, please give them our thanks for their service. Any questions? Wonderful. Well, thank you for that update. A lot of things happening. That is our final agenda item for today's meeting. For our next meeting, there's two topics I was interested in, whether other people on the committee were, I will get updates on my own, but if other people were interested, we could do it jointly. One was, as we talk about pension, we've been talking a lot about the city's inputs into the pension, but maybe less about how our money is invested. So I don't know if others are interested in hearing about that.
That sounds good.
Wonderful. And then I can't remember what the other one was. Any other requests for updates? Wonderful. Then with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.